A lot of people get nervous about Army basic training, trying to, get through that process and everything. And some of the questions people want to know is it a good idea to try to make a good impression on the drill sergeants, to try to stand out and be amazing? And a lot of that may depend on you, really. Because not everybody looks at basic training the same way, right? Some people look at basic training as just, they got to do this to get it done so they can do the actual job they want to do in the Army. And that's it. They don't really care about if they did great, amazing, they just want to pass. And if that's you, then no, it probably just, that's your goal, is to just do well enough to pass. And that's okay, I guess. Your bigger accomplishments can come from your actual time in the Army, right? Doing amazing things at your unit and doing great things there. But for the most part, you being amazing or just barely passing a basic training really doesn't have much of an outcome on your future. There can be some advantages to standing out in Army basic training, but some people may tell you that you don't want the drill sergeants to know your name, which, like I said, if you're that first case scenario that I talked about, that's probably true. You don't want the drill sergeants to know your name, but there can be advantages. And that's kind of what I'm going to talk about, but there are also disadvantages too. So I got a little bit of good and a little bit of bad that I'm going to explain to you to let you know about maybe the goods and bads of standing out in basic training. Before I can really give you a good example of why it's good or why it might be bad to stand out, I got to give you some ways you could possibly stand out. Of course, there's probably a ton of ways you can possibly stand out, but I'll give you a few examples to kind of get you started to understand, for those of you that don't understand, right, what would qualify for standing out. That'll help you kind of understand, why maybe there's benefits and disadvantages and all that kind of fun stuff. But nonetheless, we're going to talk about what you could do possibly in Army basic training that could cause you to kind of stand out, to make it to where the drill sergeants know who you are and are paying attention to you. One of those things could be giving it 110%, right? You are just going at it. You are giving it all your effort. They can see that you're putting through the real hard effort. You're struggling maybe in some things, but you're not giving up. You're just continuing to push and everything else like that, which is good. And I probably should say that, everybody should do that because it'll probably have some good advantages to you. Just not, maybe not even in the ways that I'm talking about in this video, but just in a lot of other ways to kind of help motivate yourself to get through Army basic training. But if the drill sergeants see that you're pushing through really hard, they may remember you compared to an individual that they see quitting or not giving it their all. They're probably going to remember the soldiers that are putting forth a lot of effort. If you're just doing whatever you got to do to get by, may not be noticed, right? If you're quitting, you may get noticed for wrong reasons, right? So that kind of falls into it too. So if you are not giving 110% and you're quitting, then that can also probably get you noticed, and drill sergeants are going to know who you are because they know that, hey, this person over here is probably going to fail at this. They're probably going to struggle at this. They're probably going to get frustrated and quit or whatever, right? Or maybe they just know that, hey, this soldier has had some problems in the past. Maybe with this next challenge, they may have some problems as well. Let's keep an eye on them to see if we need to give them additional training or if we need to try to motivate that person in some way. And that could, result in you doing some extra things that we're going to be talking about. You can also stand out by the fitness test. You have the fitness test, you got weapons qualification, you got all sorts of tests sometimes that you have to do during basic training. And if you were someone that scored really high on the fitness test, then that can help, cause you to stand out, maybe not qualifying expert, because sometimes that happens. That's a cool thing. It's great for you. The drill sergeants may not care as much, but the fitness one usually is a little bit higher of a standard to where, if you can max and get really high on the fitness standard, that's pretty damn good. And certain other tests that may come about, right? You do really great on this thing or that thing or whatever, but also doing really poorly on those things can also do the reverse effect, get you noticed for the wrong reason. So those are also some things that possibly could get you noticed and bring some attention to you. One last one before we kind of get into some good and bad kind of reasons why this might be good or might be bad, but stepping up as a leader. You step up as a leader, then they may see that, hey, this person's a really good individual trying to motivate other people and trying to be a leader, trying to help them get through things. They see someone struggling and they try to motivate that person to get through it and be a leader kind of a thing. So that can also be good too. If you are really kind of showing that leadership quality and really helping the other soldiers that may be struggling a little bit to try to help them get through things. Maybe it's the obstacle course, right? Or maybe it's just other things in general, working out, doing, some of the exercises in certain times or whatever kind of a thing. And they see that you're kind of stepping up, then cool. I mean, there can be things where you're overstepping your boundary, and you got to kind of watch that and try to gauge the right kind of limit, because if you guys are all getting smoked and then all of a sudden you stand out and you go to help this other soldier that's, you know, struggling a little bit, then yeah, that's going to get you in trouble probably, and not what they're looking for. They're going to tell you, get your ass back over there and start pushing. But, you know, certain moments may become available where you can do things to help other soldiers and be helpful and kind of be a leader. So now let's start off with one good one, right? We'll start from good and bad, but let's start for the first one with a good one. A good thing of standing out and getting noticed by the drill sergeants could lead to an early promotion. There are set standards as far as, like, if you're an E1, how long you must be in E1 for, or be in the Army for, before you will automatically get promoted to E2, because that's how the enlisted ranks work from E1 through E4, is automatic promotions as long as you're not getting in trouble to reduce you in rank, but you're doing the right thing. There's a certain point where you're just going to automatically get promoted. But then there's a thing called waivers where you can potentially get promoted early, because yes, this might be the time frame where you're automatically getting promoted, let's say from E1 to E2. But if you stand out well enough, the drill sergeants may be willing to put in a waiver and get you promoted here a little bit earlier. So you can actually leave basic training as an E2 in that example of starting off as an E1. Now, you're not gonna be able to do this like if you're E4, you're not gonna be able to leave basic training as an E5. You know, that's not gonna work, or possibly not even E3 leaving as an E4, but you know, some of those lower rankings, maybe E1, E2, you know, you might be able to leave basic training, getting promoted, getting a waiver, and be able to kind of move on to AIT and, you know, have a little bit more rank, make a little bit more money type of thing. And because you stood out, they're willing to put the effort to put in for a waiver to let you get promoted sooner than you normally would have been. Now let's talk about a bad one, some unwanted attention that maybe because you stood out, you get some unwanted attention, and that may result in you getting smoked more, maybe, you know, getting, you know, additional taskings, you know, to have to do to try to shape you up or try to, you know, get you to learn your lesson type of thing. Now, don't get me wrong, you could do everything amazing and you're still gonna get smoked, because that's just part of basic training. You're gonna get smoked even if you're doing everything right, because they need you to, one, you know, get in shape and be in good enough shape to make sure you do well when you pass all the fitness tests and everything, but also get that experience, make sure you can handle the stress. But if you're messing up, right, then that's some unwanted attention. You're standing out to the drill sergeants in a bad way, and that's causing you to now get smoked more, or maybe get stuck doing other things that maybe if you were doing the right thing and doing good, you wouldn't have to do as often, I guess. So, but don't think that like because you're getting smoked a lot, that means you're messing up. It doesn't always mean that. You're just, sometimes it's just part of the process. You have to get smoked, right? But if you happen to notice that, hey, seems like I'm getting smoked a lot more than some of these other guys, then maybe you gotta take a look at yourself and figure out, what am I doing wrong here? Why am I getting smoked more than some of the other people that I see around here getting smoked? Because everybody's gonna get smoked, but if you're getting smoked probably more than everyone else, well, you might be doing something wrong. Because kind of related to that is a good, as I kind of got the point with the bad one, that the opposite, right, of, you know, you doing bad and getting smoked a lot could be you getting smoked less. Like I said, you're gonna get smoked regardless, but you might not get smoked as often as this other dude, right? This other soldier that's over here that's, you know, not keeping up, not doing the right thing, not paying attention, not staying in a parade rest, whatever, right? Not doing the things that they're supposed to be doing. You notice that soldier's getting smoked, and maybe you're just gonna stand around and watch. I mean, that could possibly sometimes be a bad thing too, because sometimes they like to mess with you in that way where you're the one messing up all the time. So they're gonna be like, you just stand there and watch your platoon get smoked. And you know, that's a bad thing, because now they're trying to make it to where you feel bad for all of them getting smoked. So hopefully you step up and do better. And then maybe all those other soldiers are going to start to motivate you more because they don't want to get smoked because of you. So if it's that way, then that's a bad one. But if it's just a simple thing where you notice that, hey, I'm doing the right thing and these guys are doing the wrong thing, they're getting dropped, they're making them do more push-ups, doing all sorts of crazy stuff, and I'm doing the right thing and I'm getting, you know, treated a little bit better, maybe not great because it's basic training, but you know, getting treated maybe a little bit better and not getting smoked as often, then that can definitely be a good thing, a good reason to stand out. So that way you don't, right? If you need to get in great shape, I mean, I wouldn't recommend, you know, purposely messing up so that you have to get smoked. You know, you can do some things on your own to try to help yourself, you know, stay into shape or get into great shape and everything. But nonetheless, if you're in great shape and you're doing the right thing and everything, then great. Maybe you get smoked a little less. Maybe you're sweating it out a little bit less than some of the other soldiers out there. Now, you could possibly also be getting some unwanted attention from some of your fellow soldiers, because if you're really trying to stand out, you're trying really hard, but some of these other soldiers see it as you're trying to make them look bad. And that could be a negative, possibly, to cause some bad interactions, some, I don't know, problems in the barracks or whatever type of thing. There's the possibility that you're standing out, you're doing a great job, you're doing really cool. And then there's some soldiers that maybe are struggling a bit. That's on them, really, for the most part. But they could look at you as, this mofo is over here making us look bad. They're over here, he's over here doing great, maxing out on the fitness tests and doing great on road marches and trying to step up as a leader. And there's gonna be some people that maybe you got a great class, but maybe you got some people that look at that as a bad thing on you, saying that you are making us look bad. And that may be, like I said, a bigger problem on them, right? Maybe they're lazy. Maybe they're like, we just want to get through this. We want to do the bare minimum, and get through it. And you're trying to make us look bad. And you're screwing up my whole plan of trying to do the bare minimum. And I wouldn't let that discourage you, right? Because like I said, there can be some pros to standing out. Don't let those individuals be the negative that cause you not to want to stand out. If you don't want to stand out because you just want to get through it, that's one thing, right? But if you're like, I don't want to stand out because I don't want to get the hate from these people, that's their problem, right? I mean, you may never see these people ever again. I mean, sure, you may have some conflict or whatever. I usually don't see it that big of a deal. You may have some people like talking crap behind your back, not to the extent they're going to try to do a barracks party on you typically, which is like kind of beating you up in the barracks type of thing. But, maybe some negative things. But not serious negative things. Like I said, yeah, you might have a little bit of people that are butthurt about it, jealous maybe even kind of a thing, but sometimes you just gotta drive on with it, right? You're just kind of have to expect that in life sometimes. That's life in general. Sometimes you're doing amazing things and there's other people that are jealous of your amazing things that you're doing, and they may talk crap about you because they're jealous about it. And that can be the same case, possibly in basic training, where somebody feels like you're making them look bad and they don't wanna do as amazing things as you're doing. And they feel like that because you're doing these amazing things, the drill sergeants expect them to do amazing things. And they may talk some crap about you behind your back and they may do some things, but in the end, if it leads to you getting promoted sooner, leads to you getting smoked less, leads to you getting better opportunities, maybe to not have to do as much crap as some of them have to do, then hey, works out for you. I mean, the Army's more about a team thing, and you can try to motivate them to maybe step up their game, which would be great, right? Because you should be trying to elevate people and try to get them, to the max potential, essentially, type of thing. Probably just gotta be careful you're not too annoying about it, because sometimes, you think you're doing the great thing and you're motivating these people, but you're not doing that great of a job and you're just annoying the shit out of them. But nonetheless, you could possibly end up with that as a negative thing. You're trying to stand out and you're trying to do great, but this other group of individuals sees it as you're making them look bad. Now, my basic training was obviously a long time ago, right? But from my experience that I saw when I went through basic training, there were some people that stood out, and I saw some people, get promoted early. We had some individuals that stood out and they got to be like squad leaders or maybe a platoon sergeant, which kind of resulted in less things they had to do. I mean, a little bit more responsibility, but certain other things that they didn't have to do that we had to do because they were in a leadership kind of role. It's for training purposes, and a lot of basic trainings may even kind of rotate people around to kind of get that experience. But sometimes that standing out can result in some good things. And for those of my veterans, my viewers out there that have experienced basic training, maybe even recently, maybe a few years back, maybe several years back, I would love to hear from you. What were some things that you saw where someone stood out and they got rewarded, or maybe they stood out in a negative way and they got some kind of punishment for it or worked out to their disadvantage type of thing? I'd love to hear about it down in the comment sections down below. What are some things that you think that you saw that caused somebody to, get rewarded, not rewarded, or what rewards did they get type of thing? So comment down below. And then for those of you that are maybe heading off to basic training at some point in time, what are your questions, right? What questions do you have about, if I did this, would that be good? If I did this, would that be good? Or would it be bad and cause negative attention? So comments in the comment section down below, questions, whatever you got. I'll do my best to answer those that I can. And then some of my fellow viewers out there can help out with veterans, to give a veteran answer, right? Or people that are currently in the Army to give some answers to those of you that need those answers. Now, if you stuck around this long, you should probably continue your viewing experience and watch more of my videos if you haven't seen some of those other videos. Maybe there's one on screen right now that you haven't seen. You should go check that out. Go watch it. Make sure you're liking the video. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Check out my links down in the description box for some more resources. But nonetheless, thanks for hanging out. I'm Christopher Chaos, and I'll see you next time. See ya.